This man picked up a contraband cell phone inside a Supermax prison and walked out of a phone call $11 million richer. Not a minimum security camp, not a work release program, a Supermax, single-man cell, 23 hours a day behind a steel door. The most secure facility in the state of Georgia. And he didn't just steal the money, he bought a $4.4 million mansion in Buckhead. He chartered a private jet. He ordered 6,000 gold coins delivered to his people on the outside. All while sitting in a concrete box smaller than your bathroom. His name is Arthur Lee Cofield Jr., street name Yap Lavish, and at 16 years old, he walked into a bank with a weapon and stole $2,006. $2,000, that's what put him in the system. A teenager, armed robbery, a number so small it barely makes the local news. But prison is where Arthur Lee Cofield learned to think bigger, much bigger, and the system that was supposed to contain him had no idea what was coming. By 2020, Cofield was locked up in Georgia's Special Management Unit, the SMU, a Supermax wing inside the Georgia Diagnostic and Classification Prison in Butts County. Single-man cells, maximum surveillance, the place they put inmates who are too dangerous for general population. He'd been transferred there after allegedly ordering a shooting from inside prison, a mall parking lot in Atlanta. The target, a man he believed was involved with his girlfriend, a woman known as Yap Mrs. So this is who we're dealing with, a gang leader, running an operation called Young and Paid from inside a Supermax cell, and he was about to do something nobody thought was possible. Someone on the outside texted him a photo, a driver's license, not his. It belonged to a 93-year-old man named Sidney Kimmel. Sidney Kimmel is a billionaire, fashion mogul, movie producer, the kite runner, net worth roughly $1.5 billion. Cofield also received a photo of Kimmel's Los Angeles Department of Water and Power utility bill. That's important, because that's what financial institutions use to verify your identity. A driver's license and a utility bill. That's all it took. Cofield picked up his contraband Samsung phone, opened the Text Now app, a free calling service that masks your real number, and he called Charles Schwab. He told them he was Sidney Kimmel, 93 years old, needed to access his brokerage account. They asked security questions. He had the answers, the driver's license, the utility bill, the right name, the right address. They let him in. A man sitting in a Supermax prison cell in rural Georgia just talked his way into a billionaire's brokerage account using a free phone app, a stolen driver's license photo, and a utility bill. No hacking, no technology, just a phone call and confidence. And once he was in, he moved fast. He directed $11 million out of Sidney Kimmel's Charles Schwab brokerage account. $11 million. From a 93-year-old man who had no idea it was happening. He didn't wire it to a bank account. That would be too easy to trace, too easy to freeze. Instead, he bought gold. 6,106 American gold eagle coins, 1 ounce each, purchased from a company called Money Metals Exchange in Idaho. Then he chartered a private plane to fly the gold to Atlanta, a private jet, paid for with stolen money to transport stolen gold. Arranged by a man in a prison cell who wasn't even supposed to have a phone. But here's where it gets worse. On the outside, his accomplice Eldridge Bennett, a 66-year-old man, received the gold. And Bennett's daughter Eliah helped Cofield buy a $4.4 million mansion in Atlanta's Buckhead neighborhood. Picture this, a man in a concrete cell, fluorescent lights, a metal door that doesn't open from the inside, and somewhere across Atlanta, a $4.4 million mansion with his name on it, through a proxy, through a shell company, through a 66-year-old accomplice and his 25-year-old daughter, a Supermax inmate, living through proxies in a Buckhead mansion he'd never set foot in. While the 93-year-old man whose money paid for it had no idea anything was missing, and Cofield wasn't done. Between January 2018 and February 2019, he also stole $1.2 million from a man in Alabama and $391,000 from a bank. Same method every time, identity theft, phone calls, contraband phones. But wait, it gets worse. When prison guards finally searched his cell and found the blue Samsung phone hidden under his arm, one of them briefly saw the screen before it auto-locked. It showed a bank account balance of $31 million. 31 million, not 11, 31. Which means what they charged him for might only be a fraction of what he actually stole. The phone locked, the full picture disappeared, and nobody knows where that 31 million came from or where it went. Nobody knows how many other accounts he accessed, how many other identities he stole, how many other people woke up one morning to find their money gone, moved by a man in a concrete cell who shouldn't have had access to anything. The investigation caught up, and it started with a detail Cofield never thought about. The Secret Service, not the FBI, the United States Secret Service, was brought in to investigate because wire fraud across state lines involving financial institutions, that's their jurisdiction, and they're very good at following money. Forensic analysts traced the Text Now number on the confiscated phone to calls made to Money Metals Exchange, the gold purchases, the private jet charter, the mansion. Every transaction left a digital fingerprint, and every fingerprint led back to the Samsung hidden under his arm. On December 8, 2020, a federal grand jury in the Northern District of Georgia indicted Arthur Lee Cofield Jr. He pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit bank fraud and aggravated identity theft. On January 5, 2024, U.S. District Judge Steve Jones sentenced him to 135 months in federal prison, 11 years and 3 months. On top of his existing state sentence, he was ordered to pay $12.5 million in restitution, money he almost certainly doesn't have. Money that may never be recovered, because most of it was converted to gold, and the gold was moved through a network that investigators are still trying to untangle. His accomplice Eldridge Bennett got 4 years in federal prison and $11 million in restitution. Bennett's daughter Eliah pleaded guilty to concealing wire fraud. She faces up to 20 years. At sentencing, Judge Jones looked at Cofield and said something that stuck with everyone in the courtroom. If you had put the intelligence you have to legal and positive things, you would have been very successful in life. And that's the thing about this case. It's not about hacking. It's not about technology. A man with no internet access, no computer, nothing but a smuggled phone and someone else's driver's license, called customer service and walked away with $11 million. The richest man he'd ever spoken to was on the other end of the line, and the security system designed to protect a billion-dollar fortune was beaten by a free phone app. One investigator put it simply, "This will make a good movie." And this is Arthur Lee Cofield Jr. He entered the prison system at 16 for stealing $2,000 from a bank. He'll leave the federal system as a middle-aged man for stealing $12 million from billionaires. And the question that investigators still can't answer is what happened to the other $20 million? Because the $31 million on that phone screen, nobody's been able to explain it. The charges only cover 12.5. The rest is still out there, somewhere. If you want to follow cases like this, subscribe. New case every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. The Reckoning Files.